Here's what I learned from my first ever climbing competition. I've been taking training a lot more seriously lately to get myself ready for a series of competitions that I have starting in February. And I signed up for this local competition at my gym to push myself and see what my strengths and weaknesses are. So let's go over the rules of this competition. It's on site, which means I can't see the boulders before I climb. 5 minutes of rest, 5 minutes of climbing. And points are given for zones and tops and deducted for every single attempt. Pretty simple. Warm-up is not that interesting, except I screwed up my hand and was forced to tape myself. So that's the first mistake. Alright, so I'm on the first boulder, checking it out, seeing what's up, and immediately I see that this is pretty much my anti-style. Small credit card crimps on slab. Ew. So I don't get very far on my first attempt. Match on this hold. And then I'm supposed to actually use the wall here to crawl up to the next hold, but I didn't read that for some reason. And it looks really obvious now. But when I was on the slab, I was so locked in on just trying to hook differently, use different fingers, just trying to reach for that next hold, that having the wall above me just kind of didn't register. So I didn't even end up getting to the zone on this one. Eventually, in my last 10 seconds, I did manage to actually reach the next hold, but still it's obvious that the biggest mistake I made on this boulder is not reading the beta correctly. No send, no zone. Now, this next boulder looks a lot like my style. It's on overhang, which is good, and it looks really campusy. So I'm trying to go with a double catch on this slopey jug, and I had thoughts about using a toe hook on the other hold, which is intended beta, but I never tried it. I did try catching the other jug with my hand, and that didn't work again. No zone, no send. Alright, on to the next boulder. Once again, this is my chance to redeem myself because it looks like something my style. So I'm hopping on the start, get that figured out pretty much immediately, going with the heel hook. So I actually spent a lot more time figuring this one out before I hopped on. Maybe 30-40 seconds of just purely looking at the beta. So I had a decent idea of what I'm supposed to do for most of it anyway. Now in my second attempt, I get the switch right away. Foot up, hand up, and there's the zone. Now the top felt a little different than I imagined from the bottom, so I'm kind of confused here. My feet are in an awkward position. Getting exhausted, and there's the slip. But that was a pretty solid second or third attempt. Now I spent a decent amount of time resting because there's a lot of tension, and now I've got about a minute left. I'm going for this attempt. Get the switch right away. I've got all the moves pretty much memorized now, except for the last one. Much more optimized now. Grabbing that good jug. A little bit of a slip, but still on. Now I've got to get the high foot. This is actually a pretty challenging move with a little foot chip, and that's a top, right?
He's got one hand. Close. Nope, that's not a top. Not a top.
Fourth mistake, not looking at the last hold. Absolutely devastated by my awful fumble on the previous problem. I spent a good amount of time looking this one over. This is actually my first attempt on it. I'm pretty baffled by the distance of that first move. Gotta get a second look, you know. Try to find a balancing point, but I lost it. Got that balancing point, and nope. Alright, we're stable now. And jump into the slot.
Oh, Sergey gets the move. He gets the move into the slot. That's a fantastic effort.
I think that's the first time we've seen that go.
Yeah. You just got to get second hand
find
on the hold.
Something for that foot.
There's no opposition. He needs to smear into the wall. Instead, he's finding a foothold out to his left on the zone hold.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness. He's got to smear into that wall. That's how he's going to find his opposition for that hold. Instead, he's getting fully laid out across the slab. Wow. That was a really good effort from him.
So close. That's the closest we've seen to that one going, I think, this evening.
That was close, but I actually still had another 2 minutes left. So obviously, I go for another one. Get the stable point, jump into the slot, and
He's just going to reach up.
It was so much simpler. All you had to do was just get your hands up. There you go.
decides against the rest of that beta. We heard some cries of frustration from some of the shorter climbers on the bench who
That's
have
it.
already finished the circuit.
So what did I learn? Well, I know I'm strong and I'm physically capable of doing most of these moves once I actually figure them out. Surprisingly, I also had pretty good endurance. I didn't get pumped or tired. I could have rested less. For weaknesses, obviously I need to get better at reading beta and analyzing the problems from the ground as well as on the wall. A lot of these moves I could have easily done if I actually figured them out. I also spammed attempt when I didn't get something, which took away from my final score. But ultimately, this was a good learning experience. I can now actually capitalize off of my strengths and work on my weaknesses, which will help me in any future competitions that I do. Consider following along if you'd like to see me do a more serious competition.